Hello all of you passionate true crime fans. Welcome to Crime Dog. I'm Gemma and this week we're talking about a local informant who tells the police that they need to make an urgent arrest. A dangerous man who is armed with a gun is hunting a young woman with the intention of abducting her, torturing her and selling her to traffickers. This man is a lunatic and they need to act fast. Can the French detectives stop him in time? Roll the intro. Elodie Morel is a beautiful young mother who is working as a waitress in Marseille. She dreams of one day being able to support her husband and her 3-year-old son by becoming a model. Her dreams come true when she sees a casting call to model for Rolls-Royce in the Camargue in France. She is so happy when she gets an email from the photographer Nicole Forrester telling her she's got the job and the pay is more than she could imagine. A 5-day shoot, €1,000 per day and all expenses paid. They arranged to meet at 6 p.m. in a small bar in Aigues-Mortes called L'Escale. On the 2nd of May 2005, a call comes into the police station from Dominique Tarasco, affectionately known as Dommy. He's one of the local informants who has a special agreement with the police. He has an underground nightclub called Les Poubelles that flies under the radar, and in return he gives the police hot tips on imminent drug deals and local thieves in the area. But this time his call is chilling. This is the most important tip he will ever give the police. He informs them of a guy who has a plan to meet a woman in a bar at 6 p.m. He plans to abduct her and he talked seriously about selling her to traffickers for prostitution or even killing her. He is extremely dangerous and definitely capable of seriously following through. He is also armed. And that might not seem like a big deal to you if you're from the US, but in France, really nobody is packing, or at least it's very rare to have a gun if you are not running behind a wild boar. They need to act fast to save this woman. Her life is in their hands. The police take Dommy's tip very seriously from the second they get the call. First they ask for more details. It turns out he's driving a green Seat Ibiza, but their informant doesn't have any more details. Well, at least none that he's willing to give them. He tells them that he has already said too much and they just need to figure out the rest themselves. He is still part of the criminal underworld after all. He's pretty confident that they'll catch the guy with the information that he's given them. At 6:15 p.m, a team of police is mobilized. They are looking for a man and a young woman on the terrace of a bar in the center of Aigues-Mortes on a busy beachfront. It's a beautiful day and the promenade is packed with restaurants, bars and cafes. There are hundreds of couples everywhere. They're looking for a needle in a haystack. So they move on to the green Seat Ibiza. They check all of the car parks around the area, but they find nothing. At 7 p.m, they call Dommy back. They're coming up with nothing and time is of the essence. They need more information. As it turns out, Dommy has given them the wrong model of car. They've just wasted an hour. He corrects the mistake, telling them that it was actually a grey ZX. The same evening, Dommy himself tries to find his nutjob friend to stop him. But at a loss, he stops for a quick bite at a restaurant and then makes his way home at around 1 a.m. On his road home, he sees a police checkpoint for standard speeding and drink driving checks. He pulls over and goes to see the police. He wants to make sure that they've got the guy. But at this moment, an unbelievable collision of events makes for a tragic missed opportunity to save a young mother's life. Dommy asks police if they've got his guy. Simultaneously, a grey ZX drives up to the checkpoint with a woman seemingly asleep in the passenger seat. Dommy and the police all see the car and the grey ZX drives on by. There he is! There's the nutter with the gun! Get him! But the police at the traffic stop haven't been briefed on the manhunt about the nutter with the gun and intentions of abducting a woman. All they know is that the local informant, who is probably too drunk to be driving himself, has pulled over and started yelling orders at them about some random car that has just driven through the checkpoint. At this very second, Dommy's phone rings. It's the nutter in the ZX. He tells Dommy that he has just seen a police checkpoint and Dommy better be careful when he's driving home. Dommy reiterates to the police, "That's definitely your guy. He just called me to tell me that he passed a police checkpoint." What are the chances? The police don't believe a word he is saying. He's drunk. So they tell him to go home and they won't breathalyze him this time. If they had just listened to Dommy, the ending of this story would be very different. On the 4th of May, a young man goes to the police station in Marseille. Sylvain, who is 25 years old, tells the police that he hasn't heard from his wife in 2 days. The last message he had from her was at 9:30 p.m. on the 2nd of May. She messaged her husband, "Smoochy kisses, everything is going well. I'll call you tomorrow, the signal is not very good here. Sending you big hugs, see you soon." And since that, he has no news. And when he calls her, her phone is off. They normally contact each other every day. He has even messaged her saying that he is worried, but he's had no reply. He thinks something awful has happened and he wants to report his wife missing. He's immediately convinced that his wife has been sold to traffickers. The police ask him some more questions and uncover that only a couple of months ago, they were having some marital problems. When they see some pictures of her, they notice just how beautiful she is. In their opinion, she has probably just run off with another man. Sylvain tells them about the casting call in Aigues-Mortes and begs them to do something. At the police station in Aigues-Mortes, they receive the message from their friends in Marseille about a young woman who was supposed to have a meeting with a photographer and has now been uncontactable for 2 days. 48 hours ago, they had been chasing a nutter who wanted to abduct a woman from Marseille. The coin drops. They jump into action and call Sylvain. He explains everything he knows about the casting call and the emails and gives them any other information he can, including Elodie's number. They digitally trace the movement of her phone on the 2nd of May. It pinged in Aigues-Mortes, then Saint-Laurent-des-Gouzes, then Saint-Gilles, then Vauvert. This confirms that she was in the region, and since then her phone has been cut off. No more digital trace. Police throw all of their resources at this missing persons case. They know that time is crucial. They set up base in Vauvert and begin the desperate hunt for Elodie Morel. At 2 a.m, Elodie's husband Sylvain arrives at the police base in Vauvert. He brings everything he can to help them with their investigation. He also gives them details of her personality. She is a strong, feisty young mother who is not afraid to share her opinions, and she would undoubtedly put up a fight. In his statement, he said, Elodie would have certainly fought as soon as she realized that the meeting was a trap. She is far from being an idiot, and she always knows what to do in difficult situations. Unfortunately, with all of the information Sylvain gives them, they still do not have enough to find her. So they bring in Dommy and force him to give them more information. On Thursday, the 5th of May, the police begin an intense interrogation with Dommy. They demand that he gives them the name of the nutter, reminding him that Elodie could be somewhere tied up and dying. They need that name urgently. Dommy unfortunately doesn't want to give it up. He knows just how dangerous this guy can be, and he knows that if he fesses up, he's a dead man. So they ramp up the pressure. They threaten to throw him in jail as an accomplice to the crime. Dommy is exhausted and he bursts into tears. He cracks and confesses. The guy they need to find is Guillaume Mango. Sounds like I'm saying mango, but with the French accent, this is how you would pronounce it. Mango, especially from the south. He is a 49-year-old security guard who had worked at the club Les Poubelles. And when the police look into his history, it turns out this isn't his first rodeo. When he was just 20 years old, he SA'd 2 young German tourists. He picked them up hitchhiking, and when they were in the car, he whips out his gun. Forcing them to follow his every instruction, he tortures them all night long. It was hours before he finally released them. And in July 1997, he is caught and charged, sentenced with 9 years for the 2 rapes and malicious use of an assault weapon. So their assailant already has a history of armed SA. He was also subsequently caught on multiple occasions with a gun, which is again very illegal in France. And they know he is capable of extreme violence. The investigators begin to fear the worst. Elodie is in the hands of a dangerous predator, so they conjure up an excellent plan. They're going to set up a trap and Mango will walk right into it. They get Domi to call Mango and tell him that he's got a job for him. Mango is the perfect man, but it's too risky to talk about over the phone. They need to meet in person, so they plan to meet at 6 p.m. in the car park of an old nightclub called the Mexicana just in Vauvelle. Domi informs the police that their suspect isn't going to be alone. He will have an accomplice with him. This will make the operation a lot harder and much more dangerous. At 6 p.m, a van pulls into the parking lot. They see that Mango is in the car and they also spot his accomplice. As soon as the engine is cut and the men step out of the car, the police charge in. Mango hits the floor running, with one of the boys in blue hot on his tail. He takes him down to the ground with a struggle and cuffs him. Since he is a notorious holder of illegal weapons, he immediately conducts a body search. In his jeans pocket is Elodie Morel's bank card. At that moment, Mango blunders out an explanation. He says that he found the card in a bar and was planning on returning it to the owner. This will be the first in a long list of lies that Mango will tell the police. The second guy in the van was 53-year-old Richard Linier, and he doesn't have a criminal record. Yet. He tells the police that him and Mango are longtime friends, and ever since Mango left the area, whenever he comes back, they put him up in their house. Their house where he lives with his wife Francine and their only daughter. The police have an address. They immediately head to Richard's house, hopefully to find Elodie and bring her back to safety. They are heading at speed with sirens blazing towards Vergès, 10 kilometers from Aigues-Mortes. The police arrive to a bizarre scene. Francine and her daughter are having dinner when the police blast in, declaring that they need to tear the house apart. The pair just keep on eating. As if it's not happening, police with handcuffs and guns scatter through the house in search of a lost woman. And they just keep on eating. They flip the house upside down. And they do not find Elodie, but they do find a dress, 2 pairs of shoes, a black t-shirt, and Elodie's phone. It is clear that Elodie has been here. And they also find a gun with dried brown stains, most likely blood stains. They decide that something horrendous has happened here. So they make the decision to arrest everyone, even Francine, and they want to question them all separately. It's now 8 p.m. on Thursday the 5th of May. The 3 suspects have been split up so they cannot collaborate on a story. It is clear from the get-go that Mango is not going to be very helpful. And what's more, he is a very manipulative guy. When he's shown a photo of Elodie, he claims that he may have seen her in the bar that night where he found the bank card, but he's not 100% sure. He keeps giving them answers to throw them off his scent. He's ready to play. Getting nowhere, they turn their attention to Richard, in the hope that he can cast some light on the truth about Elodie's whereabouts. And while Richard is not so familiar with law enforcement, he tells them that he knows what's happened. According to Richard, Mango showed up at his house in the morning of the 1st of May at breakfast time. This is nothing out of the ordinary. He would often visit unannounced, and they always welcomed him, partly because they were afraid of him, because he was always carrying a gun or some other kind of weapon, and partly because he was always full of really interesting stories. This time on the 1st of May, he tells them that he has been offered a contract. It's big money, a 5-figure sum, to assassinate someone. Well, after that bombshell, they continue as normal. This couple is crazy. They have a nice dinner together, and Mango apparently leaves the house between 9 and 9:30 p.m. in a ZX. That was the last they saw of him until the early morning of the 3rd of May at around 6 a.m. Mango bursts in a panic, covered in blood with a gun in his hand. claiming that the hit had gone wrong. And now he has a girl in his car and he urgently needs to use their garage, which is 500 meters from their house. Richard is like, okay, no problem, and takes him down to the garage to open it and let the ZX roll in. Mango tells him that he's going to stay in the garage to sleep a little and to make sure that the girl doesn't scream. Richard alleges that he didn't see or hear what or who was in the trunk, nor did he hear anything from the garage in the moments following. And off Richard goes to work, as normal, as if there is not a hostage in his garage. Francine is then interrogated and she's about to share her horrific details. At approximately 6 p.m, Mango came up to the house and asked for a bottle of water because his hostage was thirsty due to the white powder that he had made her sniff. After a couple more hours with his hostage, Mango then comes up to the house for dinner, but this time bringing gifts, namely a dress, 2 pairs of shoes, a black t-shirt, and you guessed it, Elodie's phone, which he gives to their daughter. None of this they find concerning, and at no moment does it cross their mind that it might be a good idea to go and help the girl. Not even when over dinner he tells them that he's gonna need to get rid of her. And when Francine asks him, how do you get rid of someone, he makes a quick gesture with his hands and says, quick. And at this very moment, the police no longer assume that they are conducting a missing persons case. This is a murder case. Armed with Richard and Francine's witness statements, Mango finally begins to admit some pieces of information. Yes, it was him who had posted the casting call for a model. And he says when he received Elodie's email application, he was instantly infatuated. So he calls her and sets up a meeting for the next day at 6 p.m. at L'Escale in Aigues-Mortes. When Elodie turns up, she's instantly aware that this might be a trap. She's on the edge since the female photographer who had posted the ad has sent her male assistant to the meeting. But Mango has the gift of the gab. He is extremely manipulative and reassures her that they need to go on a trip to check out all of the locations in which they will be shooting. They drive around for 4 hours, and in this time, according to Mango, his only mission was to steal her credit card and get her to tell him her code. But she resisted a lot, and so frustrated he began smashing her head against the windscreen until allegedly she gives him the code and he lets her go, and now he has no idea where she could be. No mention of the garage or the dinner where he showed the family how to kill someone, and the police don't buy it for 1 second. At the same time, the police have already begun a search of the garage, and there is a mountain of evidence in there, including footprints, zip ties, the bottle of water, and blood stains on the ground. There is also more than 30 cigarette butts on the floor, suggesting that quite some time had been spent there. And what's more is they find the ZX. In the ZX, they find the famous white powder, which when analysed turns out to be crushed up sleeping medication, suggesting that Elodie had been sedated during her torture. When they present him with this evidence, he changes his version of events. He admits taking her to the garage. There they chatted about the credit card, and they came to the agreement that if she wouldn't go to the police, then he would let her go. But during that time, she was not tied up. She was free to walk around. After hours captive, he drives her back to Aigues-Mortes to her car to free her. But as soon as she is free, she kicks him so hard that he falls down to the ground. And with a bruised ego, he cannot handle his rage. He flips, and in that moment at 11 p.m, he jumps on her and strangles her to death. Using a technique of flattery with Mango, they managed to draw out the location of the body. She was hidden in the trunk of her own car. Experts confirmed that she had been strangled to death. They also find marks on her head as if she had been brutally beaten. Marks on her wrists indicating she had been bound when she had been in the garage, and blood tests that revealed that she had been drugged with the white powder. They also find traces of semen on her clothes and mixed in with her saliva on the rim of the water bottle, suggesting that she was forced to perform horrendous acts in the garage. The hours and hours of abduction had been hell for Elodie. On the 28th of January 2008, Mango, Francine and Richard are all heard before a judge. Richard and Francine are stoic as usual, and Mango is notably joyful for reasons that are about to become very clear. Mango takes to the stand and makes an outlandish statement. He says, "I didn't kill Elodie, Richard did." His wife lets out a cry of horror and everyone turns around to see Richard out stone cold on the floor of the courtroom. The court is adjourned and it is suspected that Mango had intentionally misled the jury and wasted the court's time. Her family and the jury are sick of his bullshit. The question you might be asking yourself is, why did Richard and Francine not do anything to save her? Their response is, "We didn't do anything to her, we didn't see anything, and we had no idea what was going on." They are given 6 years in jail for their complicity and unwillingness to report a crime. And after 5 days of trial, Mango is found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. This is literally the guy that you warn your daughters about when you tell them to make sure that casting call is safe or that hitchhiking is dangerous. It is always this kind of guy that we fear the most. An unknown monster. Thankfully, this one is locked away for good. And if there is anything that you can take away from this week's episode, don't talk to strangers, or don't get in the car with strangers. Avoid strangers. And if you're going to meet someone in a bar, always take a friend. It is worth being cautious. So thank you once again for tuning in. We are eternally grateful for your presence. And we hope to see you again next week. So until the next time, merci et à la prochaine. Bisous.